The Orlando Magic are making progress, but they lose again for one simple reason. It's the shooting. It's always the shooting. Today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 5th, 2024. Happy Election Day. My name is Philip Rosenreich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic go to Oklahoma City. They play a really great game in a lot of ways, except they don't do the thing that you have to do to score actual points. We'll talk about why shooting is still just the thing. It's just the thing. We'll get to why shooting is the biggest issue the Orlando Magic face. Plus, we'll talk about the non-Paolo related problems that the Magic have to resolve as they start to get themselves out of their depression bubble. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. And now you can make Locked On Magic even more part of your day because we have the brand new Locked On Magic daily newsletter. It's the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all new free Locked On Magic newsletter. The Orlando Magic found themselves trailing the Oklahoma City Thunder. Down by double digits. Got blitzed a little bit early. Defense was a little loose. Jalen Williams got going. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got going. But the Magic didn't lose the fight. They didn't quit. They didn't roll over. And again, I think generally that's been the case over the last 3 games without Paolo Banchero. The Magic were willing and ready to stay in it. And frankly, this is the best their defense has looked all, throughout this entire week. So if you're looking for a silver lining, the Magic seem to be coming out of their depression bubble. The Magic seem to be done feeling sorry for themselves, if that's how they felt, and are starting to look more like the Orlando Magic, at least in the ways that we know are going to be super important. Their defense, their intensity, their energy, their spirit. The Magic are trending back in the right direction. But of course, you can see the score on the little rundown if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, you read the title, you probably understand where this is all headed. None of that good vibes or moral victory stuff matters because right now the Magic can't do the most basic thing that a basketball team has to do. If you want to score, you got to put the ball in the basket. And right now, the Magic cannot shoot. It's election day. Famous James Carville quote. Why are the Magic losing? It's the shooting, stupid. It's all about the shooting. And shooting is this kind of fickle thing because it's about generating good looks, but then it's about making the darn shots. And so here's Orlando getting good open threes, getting the corner threes, doing all the things that we know the Magic have to do, getting good shooters or typically reliable shooters, good-looking shots. They remember. They miss. Just frustratingly so. At halftime, the Orlando Magic were 1 for 17 from 3. And you could go back in the NBA.com box score, watch every single one of those threes. You're probably only going to be able to point to about 2, maybe 3 of those in the first half that were not the exact kind of looks you need to take. And it's not like we're talking about, Goga Bitadze took one of those. It's not like we're talking about Goga Bitadze or non-shooters missing threes. It's Jalen Suggs. It's Kentavious. Jalen Suggs was 1-4. It's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 0 for 2. It's Franz Wagner. It's Tristan da Silva. Guys, the Magic have to trust will make 3-pointers. And frankly, rightly or wrongly, this is the way the league is now. Why is the Magic's offense just completely in the toilet? It's the shooting. The Magic finished the game shooting 35.4% from the floor. Second straight game shooting worse than 40% overall. They finished shooting 5 for 34. 5 for 34 on three-point shots. And again, Oklahoma City is an especially exceptional defensive team. Certainly they were a better defensive team last year than the Magic. The Magic have a lot of respect for the Thunder and the way that they play defense. Orlando then overall shot 24 for 48. Is that right? Let me make sure I add here. 82 minus 34 is 48. Yeah. The Magic shot 24 for 48 on 2-point field goals. So there's a problem here where the Magic aren't getting enough shots, perhaps. But the Magic shot 50% on 2-point field goals. They shot, after really struggling shooting in the paint and at the basket in their loss to Dallas on Sunday, they shot 21 of 39 for 42 points in the paint on Monday. There are a lot of elements here that the Magic did well. After giving up 39 points in the first quarter, not good, not going to pretend otherwise. Magic's defense has to be locked in from the start. They gave up only 19 points in the second quarter. They gave up only 18 points in the fourth quarter that maybe didn't matter so much, but still. They only gave up 26 in the third, but they scored just 15. They scored 32 points total in the middle two quarters. And yes, three-point shooting has a lot to do with that. Again, if you go back and watch every single one of those threes, the majority of them you would say are good looks. The majority of them are shots that you would say that's the kind of shot an offense is supposed to generate, that the Magic are trying to get. The kind of shots they made in their win against Indiana, that they made in the win over Brooklyn, which looks like a nice win right now, that they made in Miami, the kind of shots that they have to get. Could they work to get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope a higher volume? That seems to be the big complaint. Absolutely. Stick him in the corner, find him. Move him around, find him. But he's also shooting an uncharacteristic 22.2% for the season. Jalen Suggs has settled in at 35.7%. Guess what? That's second among rotation players. Franz Wagner's at 36.1% after shooting 28% last year. Franz Wagner's three-pointer has bounced back. He's the best shooter on the team now. Gary Harris did not play Monday. Is shooting only 33.3%, and that's with that crazy game he had on opening night. He has been ice freaking cold. You know he's going to show up on Wednesday in Indiana. He always does. But he's been ice freaking cold. Anthony Black, who we sang the praises for his confidence as a shooter and the way and the big shots that he made against Indiana last week, is shooting 29.4% from three. Now, maybe Black is the one player here we're not expecting to be an efficient three-point shooter, but the Magic are going to their best shooters, and their best shooters are missing. And especially in a game like this, where the margin for error is very small, and really just any game in the NBA, you can't get away shooting worse than 20%, which the Magic have now done twice. You can't get away with an offensive rating worse than 90, and three-point shooting has a lot to do with that. And the Magic have now done it in back-to-back games. Orlando is extremely optimistic about what they showed against Oklahoma City. And get me in trouble for this. I'm not here to excuse losses. I'm not here to say losses are good. Every one of these things is going to matter. We'll talk more about the Eastern Conference tomorrow and where the Magic are kind of situated in a very messy Eastern Conference right now, in a wide open Eastern Conference right now. But let's make this clear too. That now I lost my point. I can't make it clear because I don't remember my point. The Magic have to make shots. Like they have to, and they have to hope that things are going to turn around. That because they are getting the looks that they want, because they are getting the shots that they want, the shooters that they want shooting those, that at some point the dam is going to break and they're going to flood their opponent with three-pointers. Look, we're not asking the Magic, again, to shoot 43s anymore. I think with Paolo, that made a lot of sense because he just creates so much gravity. But the Magic need reliable shooting. Shooting is everything. The defense can't function if the team isn't making shots. Teams can run off missed shots, especially long missed threes. Teams can beat you before your defense gets set. It is deflating. As much as you want a team to be totally focused on the defensive end, it's deflating and difficult when you're missing shots. For the Orlando Magic to get the relief they needed, frankly, in this game at least, it wasn't always about the Magic's inability to get downhill and get to the basket. In this game, it was the Magic got to the paint, they touched the paint, they kicked out, and the shot didn't go in. That's how the Magic are going to have to play. The way they played in this game is closer to what this team is going to look like when they have their legs back under them. And it's coming. This team is starting to figure out how to play without Paolo. But none of it matters. None of that positivity matters. None of the potential matters. Look, I got in trouble for saying this, and this is the point I was trying to make earlier. I'm getting in trouble for saying this because they do matter. Wins do matter right now. Every win's going to matter. The East is super tight. It's tighter than we imagined in a good way for the Magic now, it seems, because Orlando's going to have to make up some ground when Paolo gets back. But the results aren't as important. Because the Magic are playing some really difficult teams that, again, they'd have to play really well to beat. And the Magic did play well. Like, they had their chance to beat Oklahoma City if they could just make a dang shot. Isaiah Joe made 3 threes in the span of about 2 minutes late in the third quarter to spearhead an 18-4 run. That was the same number of threes the Magic had made to that point. That's how impossible it is to win when you can't make threes, when you can't make shots in this league right now. But here's the point I'm trying to make. The Magic right now just need to feel confident again. And I think they're getting there. I really do feel like they've turned a corner. But it's hard to do that if you don't make shots. Just plain and simple. The Magic have to make shots to win. The Orlando Magic, though, have some other things to be concerned about. And it's not just that they're missing Paolo Banchero. Let's talk about the issues the Magic have that aren't Paolo related coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Built. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments? Just watching your money vanish into thin air like magic. That's the name of the team we cheer for. It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards come in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points toward a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guys and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent now when you join Built.com/LockedOnNBA. That's join Built, JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you joinbuilt.com. It's joinbuilt. Actually, I have to put join in there. Joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points with your rent payments today. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. It's a very busy weekend here in Central Florida. It's like an incredibly busy weekend in Central Florida. So if you're coming downtown, be patient with the traffic, because Friday night we have the Orlando Magic hosting the New Orleans Pelicans. Friday night we have your NWSL Shield Cup winners, Orlando Pride, taking on the Chicago Red Stars in the first round of the NWSL playoffs, of Pride's first home playoff game. We have the Electric Daisy Carnival over at Camping World Stadium all weekend long. And of course, Orlando City hosting Charlotte FC in their do or die must-win game Saturday that we hope doesn't go to penalty kicks, because the MLS playoffs are freaking stupid. If you want tickets to any of these events or anything going on here in Central Florida, Game Time is your ticket. They have your ticket to the event. With Game Time picks, they filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Their all-in pricing feature, which if you toggle on, shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. They give you this great digital panoramic view from your seat, so you see what the stage, field, court, whatever looks like before you buy. And with their lowest price guarantee, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a lower price somewhere else. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So, it's been a week. By the time we get to Indianapolis on Wednesday, it'll have been a week of the Magic being without Paolo Banchero. And Paolo, I know, played last Wednesday, but let's just go with that conceit for now. There's obviously been a lot of adjustment. I think the team has needed to recover emotionally. Paolo's still with the team. He's not dead. He's coming back probably late December, early January. So it's not like the season is completely over, and we're going to talk about some of those issues tomorrow. But I think the team needed to recover emotionally. They're facing some incredibly tough teams, and I do have to give the Magic credit. They're a flawed team right now. They're a team with a very small margin for error. They have to do a lot of things right. And look, again, this is my thing. They have to do 5 or 6 things right to win games right now. And they probably have to do 4 or 5 of them, if not all 6. Certainly against Oklahoma City, they have to do all 6. They did 4 of the 6 or 4 of the 5. And the one they didn't do was shooting. I want to spend tomorrow, since there's no games, we'll talk about some long-term issues for the Magic tomorrow. And what this is showing us and what this is telling us. It's just 3 games. I don't want to freak out over it. And the Magic haven't practiced. They had 1 shoot around before Cleveland. I don't think the team was quite mentally there yet. The Magic know they have their work cut out for them. They're going to need some practice time. And again, that's why I think results aren't necessarily important right now. They got to scratch out a win. They got to find a win somewhere. But even with Paolo, a 3-game losing streak here was very, very likely. Now, the Magic are on a 4-game losing streak because they lost that game to Chicago. No excuse for losing that game to Chicago, even with Paolo hurt during the fourth quarter of that game. That was a very winnable game that the Magic should have won. The disappointment from the last 3 games is not that the Magic lost. Those are all fine teams to lose to. You're not ashamed of losing to those teams. The problem with the last 3 games is the games weren't close. They weren't competitive. The fourth quarter in all 3 of the last 3 games were moot. They didn't matter. But there are issues that the Magic are facing right now that are not Paolo related. And so what I'm talking about here is not Franz Wagner is struggling to be the top guy. And we'll get to box score stuff here in a minute. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking a little about the shooting. The shooting could be this bad even with Paolo, because Paolo could draw those people in, kick it to Kenny in the corner, and Kenny misses. Or to Silva in the corner, or Franz in the corner, or whoever. they could miss those shots. That's not a Paolo problem. So it is concerning. It should be concerning. No, what I want to focus on here is something that has been bugging me for a while. Throughout last year, the Orlando Magic had a superpower. They had a big thing that propelled them, quite frankly, through the season. The Orlando Magic could count on having one of the absolute best benches in the league. They were 4th in the league in points scored off the bench last year. They were just dominant. They would come in during the second quarter, they'd break their starting lineup, and they would win second quarters. And they would, if the Magic starters got off to a slow start, the bench team would reel it back in. They won that game in Boston. They won that game against Boston. They won that game, that critical game against the Bucks on closing night. Like these are big deals. Like this is a big deal. This was a superpower the Magic had for a team that was terrible offensively. To have one of the highest scoring benches in the league was absolutely vital to the team's success and everything that the team did. This year, the Magic's bench has really struggled. And I was kind of afraid about this with losing Marco Fultz and losing Joe Ingles, the two best playmakers on the team. Now that Franz Wagner has to play a whole lot more minutes and play kind of that anchor role that Paolo Banchero played, he's somewhat taken out of that bench group that he anchored for so long. And so now you just have this totally new dynamic. Against the Thunder, the Magic scored just 20 points off the bench. Double checking my math. 20 points off the bench. Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe had 24 by themselves. They had 28, 34. And Oklahoma City, not a particularly strong bench. So that's not a thing. Looking at the plus minus, the Magic lost this game because of the bench group. Mo Wagner's minus 16. Jonathan Isaac is minus 21. Anthony Black is minus 18 with 3 turnovers. Mo Wagner had 4 turnovers. So 8 of the Magic's 19 turnovers came from their bench group. This was not a strong game for the Magic's bench. And, they were down early. It wasn't like they were close and all of a sudden the game got blown open. But the Thunder did pull away when the bench group came in the first quarter. The Magic made their first sub. Let's find their first sub. The Magic made their first sub. They were down 8 with 7:07 plays. So again, not a great start for Orlando. Oklahoma City was making shots. They're down 20-12. Orlando's keeping up. You can see they're keeping up scoring wise. The rest of the quarter, the Magic get outscored 19-14. It's a 39-26 lead. So maybe not the best example there. Certainly the game against Dallas was when the bench gave away a close game. For the season, Orlando is currently 16th in the league in bench scoring at 33.5 points per game. 33.5 bench points per game. That is a far cry from where they were last year. Again, they were 4th last year. They're 16th this year. Orlando's bench players are shooting 37.7% from floor and 31.1% from 3. Should be noted that is 4th worst field goal percentage among bench players. Teams that are kind of around them, Denver's the worst there. Miami's a little bit ahead of them. Their 3-point field goal percentage is not at 20th, is at 31.1%. If we're worried about something, if we're going to be worried about something, then one of the Magic's great superpowers from last year, something that would help them right now kind of withstand this injury to Paolo Banchero. The Magic could maintain a lot of their normal rotations if the bench were reliable. But instead, it still feels like Jamal Mosley's trying to find the right bench group. And again, some of that is injuries. Some of that is, the Magic are dealing with a pretty major injury that is having ripple effects throughout the rotation. But this is not something that's been isolated. But Mo Wagner is the top scorer off the bench. He has done Mo Wagner things, but less efficiently than he did last year. Cole Anthony, leading scorer off the bench last year, no longer in the rotation, has really shot poorly this year. Gary Harris, a 37% three-point shooter last year, shooting 33%. Again, a lot of those makes came on that opening night game. He's been less effective. Anthony Black has stepped into the role, and he's been very, very impressive. But the last 2 or 3 games, he's looked a little shell-shocked. He's looked young. He's looked like a young player, which he is. Jet Howard is getting his first real minutes. He's been crazy up and down and performing a lot better in garbage time than he is in minutes that matter. So there's a problem here. And again, I want to talk more about long-term stuff tomorrow. And there's a lot to say about what this last week has revealed about the Magic and what the Magic have to prove as this period continues and as Jeff Weltman and his staff gather information and understanding of what comes next for this team. Because very clearly, we are seeing the what comes next. The Magic banked on continuity. And no group was feeling the change of this roster more than that bench group. And right now, they are simply not performing. Right now, there are a lot of players who have taken steps back. And while, and this is ultimately a good thing, the players who've taken steps forward are the really important ones. Jalen Suggs has taken a step forward. Franz Wagner's shooting has come back, and he's looked like he's taken a step forward. And obviously, this period is going to teach him a lot too. Paolo Banchero clearly took a very big step forward. Anthony Black took a very big step forward too. Those are 4 really important players. Everybody else on the Magic is kind of struggling. And that's not a Paolo issue. I think it's really important to differentiate between things that the Magic are struggling with because Paolo Banchero is not in the lineup and things the team is struggling with because Paolo, regardless of whether Paolo was in or out of the lineup. And this is one of those things that the Magic have to get right. This was part of their formula for success last year. And right now, it's not helping. Right now, it's not working. And because the bench isn't doing what it did last year, it makes Paolo's absence feel even bigger. It's something to worry about. It's something to monitor. Because the Magic do still have to pull together to make this whole thing work. The Orlando Magic again fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder 102-86. We'll go through the box score coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to take the NFL action, or tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, do live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. FanDuel has so many great offers. Let's see if they put some of the Magic numbers back on the board. We'll start with Wednesday's game, the Indiana Pacers, 6.5-point favorites over the Orlando Magic in that game. The Orlando Magic still at plus 1,400 to win the Eastern Conference. Kind of surprised that's the case. The Southeast Division is back on the board. Miami now the favorite to win the Southeast Division at plus 100. The Magic at plus 110. So some shift there if you're looking to get a value and still believe in the Orlando Magic. Your East Group A winner, the Orlando Magic, still third in that at plus 430 now. The Knicks now the heavy favorites to win East Group A as the NBA Cup begins next week. So visit FanDuel.com and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at HIMS. Guys, ever feel like you need a little boost in the bedroom? It's okay. Don't be embarrassed about it. It's time to stop worrying about your performance and get HIMS so you can be confident knowing you can do what you need to do whenever you're in the mood. HIMS is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's Hims, HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Hims.com/lockedon. And now the stuff in italics. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Check it out today at hims.com/lockedon. Let's roll through the final box score as the Orlando Magic fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder 102-86. There are some good signs here. Like, I really do mean that. I think you could feel Jamal Mosley, like he's trying to find the positive. He's trying to keep his team's morale up. But like even listening to Goga Batadze, who made his return after the foot tendonitis, even listening to Jalen Suggs, it does, like, the mood is less gloomy. The vibes have been bad for this Magic team. There's no doubt about it. The vibes have been bad. And the team just needed to kind of get out of its funk. And it's on them. Like, again, it's the shots are whatever, but it's on them to play like the Magic. That was my point coming out of Sunday's game. And, you know, Jalen Suggs said that Jamal Mosley challenged the team to play that way. And judging by how Jamal Mosley spoke after the game and wasn't dour, wasn't upset, it's pretty optimistic that he feels like this team is turning a corner. Like it genuinely felt like Jamal Mosley felt the only reason this team lost this game was because of the poor shooting. I think that is a little bit reductive. I think the Magic could have shot a normal percentage and still very much lost this game. They still have some things to clean up on the defensive end, but I would agree that this was a better overall effort. The Magic were disruptive. They were doing things that we expect the Magic to do, and they just couldn't put the ball in the basket when they had the opportunity. And that's obviously like a really important and big thing. You got to be able to do that to win basketball games. Just going through the box score, Franz, you know, I think one more thing about this box score. Orlando did outscore Oklahoma City 28-18 in the fourth quarter. So again, a 16-point loss is a little misleading. I think the Magic deserve better for their effort. Again, they just missed a ton of shots, and kudos to them for not giving into some frustration. But, you know, when you miss a lot of shots, you're going to give away points. Like that, they go hand in hand. It's not a one or the other thing. Orlando's got to make shots more consistently. And again, that just didn't happen in the middle two quarters when they had opportunities to get back into the game and give themselves a chance to win. But the Magic played a better fourth quarter, and then, you know, maybe Oklahoma City eased off the gas. Chet Holmgren didn't play in that fourth quarter. He was a big factor with 2 blocks, 14 points, and 9 rebounds. Like the Magic have a certain amount of time on the floor. I'm going to give them the credit for taking advantage of that time and playing and looking like a functioning team for the fourth quarter. I know it doesn't matter. I know it was kind of garbage time. I know that we have to take it with a grain of salt. But right now, this team needs confidence. And so I'm encouraged that it sounds like they found some. And so I just want to caveat that as we dive into some of these numbers that, yes, some of them are a little skewed. Some of them aren't so real, and there's still a lot of work for the Magic to get where they want to go. But let's start with Franz Wagner. 22 points, 8 for 17 shooting. He was 1 for 4 from 3, 5 for 6 from the foul line. 4 rebounds, 2 assists, did have 5 turnovers, but also 2 steals. I think Franz is starting to understand how aggressive he needs to be and is beginning to find a comfort zone with the role that he's being asked to play. I think getting Goga Bitadze back, he had 11 points on 5 for 8 shooting with 9 rebounds. Getting Goga Bitadze back is a huge deal. He is such a good screener. He's such a good roller. He defends really well, defends the rim better than anyone on the team, right, aside from Jonathan Isaac. Getting him back was huge, and I think really helped Franz get to the paint and get downhill a little bit. Still some turnover issues, still dealing with what it's like to be the top guy on the depth chart, on the scouting report. But I think Franz, he's made progress. He's clearly a little bit healthier. He's feeling better, getting his legs back under him. I think we'll see a big Franz breakthrough game here very, very soon, and that's going to put the team in a position to win a game. Jalen Suggs, I also think he's getting there. 19.6 for 13 shooting. Again, 1 for 4 from 3. 6 for 6 from the foul line. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 turnovers. I think Suggs is getting there too. He's learning and better understanding how he needs to attack, how he needs to organize this team. He's really taking over that leadership. And so if we're looking for the Magic trying to accelerate this point guard growth in Jalen Suggs, like this is a good opportunity. This is a good thing for him because there is no crutch. Jalen has to organize this team and has to put this team in their best position to succeed. And he's getting there. It's a process to get there. He's not there yet. But I think this was a step forward at the end. Tristan da Silva continues to look good. 9 points, 4 for 12 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Da Silva does look very comfortable on the floor. Does look like he understands where to get to his spots. The shot, again, just didn't fall. It's a lot of bad shooting nights on this in this game, but the shots just didn't fall for him. That was really the only complaint. He's looked solid in this game. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 6 points, 1 for 7 shooting, 1 for 4 from 3. So he did hit a 3. I apologize for that. In the first half, he was 0 for 2, 0 for 1. Just struggled on that front. But he got a shot to go in, which is good. Just Case Kenny is just this wasn't Kenny's best game. I thought Kenny was a little jumpy on defense. He got out positioned a few times. And he's just not hitting shots. Like I said, the bench is the problem. Mo Wagner, 9 points, 2 for 5 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3. 7 rebounds, so good there. Jet Howard, 0 points, 0 for 2 shooting. He played only 11 minutes. Jonathan Isaac, 4 points, 1 for 3 shooting. He played only 11 minutes. Anthony Black, 3 points, 1 for 8 shooting, 0 for 5 from 3. Just not hitting shots that he was hitting last week, not hitting shots that he was hitting at home, not making the same impact. And I think we have to expect this kind of up and down from him. But he really struggled in his minutes. Caleb Houston, no points, 9 minutes, 0 for 3 shooting, all threes. He's in there to make threes. And again, he's been wildly inconsistent. But the Magic have kept turning to him. The Magic just weren't getting the guys they needed to get going. And again, that bench just wasn't giving them support. So the starters have to do everything. They already have to do a lot. And it's just tough right now. Again, this is as low as the Magic are going to be all year. And so right now, the trick with the Magic, again, is they got to figure it out. They got to find their way to play, and they got to push themselves forward. And they got to just kind of build off of that. And I think overall, this is a game where the Magic can gain some confidence, can say, okay, we did some things better. We're starting to feel more like ourselves. That depression bubble is gone. We're done eating that tub of ice cream and crying and watching those rom-coms. We're ready to get back out there. The shots got to go down. That's like the big thing still. But I do think some progress was made. And again, it's not a win. That matters. Losses suck. Losses are terrible. The team acknowledges losses are terrible. But I think they understand they got to play the long game here a little bit, find themselves again. And once they find themselves, I think the wins will start piling up again. Again, they won't be going like 7-3 over 10 games or anything like that. We're probably hovering around 500, which is what the team needs to do right now, is just hold this ship steady until Paolo gets back. The Orlando Magic fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder 102-86. They're back in action to close this long 5-game road trip on Wednesday against the Indiana Pacers. We will talk more about that game tomorrow and certainly on Wednesday as well. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the Filming Style podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. As if that all wasn't enough, you can now check out my work at the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter. It's the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's good, dude, for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Like I said, on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic, we'll take some stock of where the Magic are in the Eastern Conference and what they have to do to remain competitive, why the East's mess is the Magic's gain. We'll get to that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, do not forget to vote. If you haven't voted yet, if you voted already, thanks for voting. We love you for that. If you have not voted yet, make a plan to vote. Tuesday is election day. At least here in Florida, the polls are typically open until 7 p.m. If you're in line, stay in line if you go late. Once you're in line, they do have to take your vote, which is great. Vote if you haven't already. Celebrate this great country and do what you can to do the bare minimum, at least, in helping whatever you think this country needs to be. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. This has been Philip Rossman, right? We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.